Okay, so we're going to start off with the commander. His basic movement is 1. Most of the infantry guys have a movement of 1, and it's really kind of slow, but that's because these guys are on foot. They're not in vehicles or anything, and it's the way I could make the game the most balancing. Now his range is close quarter combat, so he has to be perpendicular or touching whoever he's going to be attacking. His damage, he gets a +1 bonus on his damage roll, and he gets a +1 on his hit points. So if our basic game here is 3 hit points, so he would have a total of 4 hit points for this game. Now his special, since he does have low stats, his special ability is he gives +1 attack to 3 units that he is commanding, and this really comes into play with making your squads and making your fire teams. Each one should have a commander on it. Next is going to be your basic infantry, which your basic infantry guys have +1 to every single one of their stats, which is a total of 6 bonus points. So they get +1 on everything because they're your basic overall general guys. Next we have the machine gunner. He gets +2 to his attack rolls, and he gets +2 to his range and +1 to his damage, and he gets no defense or hit point bonuses. That's a machine gunner. Next we have another heavy hitter here, is a bazooka. He gets +3 on his damage, +1 on his attack, +1 to range and movement. And you can pause this so that if you want to write these down, what each of the individual guys get. And I'll move through this. Now this is your close quarter combat attack guy. In testing this, these guys work really well if you keep them in a big group together because they have the highest movement of any of the units, and they can cover a lot of ground and overwhelm and swamp people pretty quick. Plus they have a really high amount of hit points, so this guy would have a total of 6 hit points. He doesn't have much of an attack or damage, and he has no range whatsoever, but he does, they are pretty effective. Next we have the sniper. They get +2 to their range, +1 to their damage, and they have a healthy amount of hit points and 1 movement. Now the next is a radioman. This gets a little complicated because the radioman, he works as a team with the mortar guy. So what he does is he travels with the commander and he calls in the coordinates for the mortar guy who can so that they can pinpoint explosives into your enemy. So he has +2 movement. Now you notice he has no damage, no range, and no attack. That's because he doesn't actually do any of the damage. He calls in the coordinates. So he does have high defense and a high hit point, so they will last. But if you have no radiomen, your mortar guys cannot shoot because they can't get coordinates. So you need to protect your radiomen. So here's your mortar guy. Now the mortar guys cannot move. You have to place them at the beginning of the game. So they will be in basically a defensive position because they're on the back lines. And they have a +3 to their range so that they can shoot over the top of your other guys, of your squads. And instead of attack, they're going to use a mortar as their attack because we're going to, in this game, explosives such as mortars, mines, and grenades have their own attack abilities and their own statuses. So he has no hit point bonus and no defense bonus. So this is a grenadier. These are your grenade thrower guys. So these guys are pretty cool because they ignore the base range, and you roll a d6 dice to determine what range they can throw their grenade. We found a good tactic is to have them in behind your fire teams and lob grenades over the top of your guys onto your opponents. But the only risk is if you roll a 1, instead of him just missing, he has to drop that grenade directly in the square, directly in front of him, and whatever is around him within the 9 square range of your explosive is what's going to be taken out. So it is risky, but they are pretty effective when you use them as part of a fire team. Next we have a minesweeper. This is a special guy too. He's not going to stand up. This is a special guy. What you can do is you can place up to 3 mines before the start of the game, and you use either a penny or a marker to determine where those mines are. And during the game, he can move around and he can actually defuse your enemy's mines, is when he puts this little thing over the top of it. And if any of his mines explode, or if he picks one up, he can pick a mine up and move it. Or if one explodes, he can place another one. He can place up to a maximum of 3 mines at a time, and he gets to you get to put those down at the beginning of your turn for the game. So this is the stats for the mortars, the mines, and their grenades. So these are a close quarter combat radius. So whenever you place your mortar or your mine or whatever you're doing, if you're calling in a mortar shot and you call in the coordinates at this square, you place that into the square, and you're going to roll a d6 dice for your attack roll. So you get no bonuses, but you do, and so anybody within this square or any adjacent square around it would have to roll for a defense, and if it attacks, then you do a d6 worth of damage to everybody in this 9 square range. And that's how the explosives work. Next are a little bit more specialty guys, just because they come in the bag. This is a flamethrower. He has a range of a d6 because he's shooting his flamethrower, and he can attack up to 3 enemies at once. So anybody within that d6, up to 3 guys, will take damage from the flamethrower guy that's in a front cone in front of them. And then there's also medics. You can use medics. I haven't used medics yet, but I made a card up for them. So they have a pretty large movement, and they have high hit points. And instead of doing damage on their attack rolls, they do healing damage. But they have to be touching whoever they're trying to heal. And that's it. You can take the 6 bonus points that you're able to use, and you can adapt them to whatever style you want, and make any kind of specialty piece that you want to make. So that's all the guys that I made. So you can take this basic idea and run with it. So that's the end of all the different types of units and all the rules. It's pretty easy, pretty basic, simple rules. If you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section, and I'll try to answer any of the questions that somebody may have. You'll notice that I didn't use any vehicles in making this game, and that's because it was just too hard to try to balance it out with vehicles. Then we'd have to add more dice, we'd have to have more range, more damage, blah, 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 blah. It was just too much of a pain in the ass to try to make something like that. Now, we've played this game quite a few times, and it's really a lot of fun. And you'll also find that basic squad movement tactics work really well and transfer really well from real life situations onto this game. And I'll be going over that in the next segment of this series. Thanks.